Okay, what is up, guys? Worst case Wallenberg, Nick Wallenberg, coming in hot. So, this is going to be a bit of a wrap up for Chuck Pringles, the corporate enforcement officer. What was that? That was, if you couldn't tell, my first foray into sketch comedy. I would say I'm like a big fan, but really, I've only ever watched one show, but it's a good show, and Comedy Bang Bang has been an inspiration of mine for years. I've watched a lot of the TV episodes when it was on Netflix, but it's largely been a podcast for most of its life, and that style of sketch comedy, of fictional characters with ridiculous stories, has always been one of my favorite forms of comedy. Really makes me laugh. And I mean, I listen to these podcasts and I have dreamt up of 100 characters that I would like, that I would play if I ever went on a show like this. That kind of improv style character comedy has always been something I've been into. So I figured, why not give it a shot, hey? So here's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Here are the facts. Okay, what went right? Positive notes. I think the concept and the character, pretty solid. This is my first ever attempt at something like this for the public. And so viewing it from the lens of, is this good or is this bad, isn't useful. Of course, it's going to be, according to some standard, it's always going to be bad. So viewing your first attempt at something in the lens of, was this good or was this bad, is just not useful at all. You gotta think, what did I do? What worked? What didn't work? What can I change to make it better? That's kind of the angle we have to approach something like this with. So, I do think the character I came up with and the concept and the story are all pretty decent. As someone who's never done something like this, I'm pretty happy with the way that all turned out. I think this same story and the same character with a different delivery or a higher quality delivery would be pretty solid. Which brings us to, what could I do to improve? So when I go back and I watch through it, I think the obvious things that I need to improve, that really are just going to improve over time, are things like enunciation. I notice I have a tendency to mumble. Things come out and they don't really sound like words, or the word I thought I said pretty clearly, I listen back and it doesn't sound like that at all, and I've confused a couple names, and it's partially a function of me being nervous on camera still, and it's partially a function of the fact that for most of my life I've been able to get away with being soft-spoken, a little mumbly. I can speak fast. If I'm in talking situations, there's a good chance I'm nervous, so I end up speaking quickly, and speaking quickly can lead to mumbling. So that is something I am going to put a conscious effort towards improving, my enunciation. But I have a feeling that's going to be something that will simply improve over time as long as I pay attention to it. Second, just kind of plays into the first thing, just general camera presence in general camera presence. Yeah, you know what I mean. Definitely something I'm improving in, and again, this is just going to be a thing. Over time, I will get better at this. It's just going to be the process of making video after video. I will certainly get more comfortable in front of the camera, and I think just general presence on camera is going to be one of the main things that I'll be relying on to get retention in my views, because with the current setup I'm working with is one webcam, one microphone, and some recording software, and some bare bones editing software. That's the equipment I have to work with, and I think I'm going to stick with it for a while, because I'm running into issues with trying to learn and master too many things at once, that I really need to get a baseline up to par before I start endeavoring on taking new things. And this goes into the next thing I want to talk about, which is the format I've chosen of this 100 videos in 100 days. Sticking to it, no questions, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its drawbacks. And one of the things I'm running into is this problem of I'm needing to pump out a video every day. So that in itself takes a bit of time. That takes a couple hours. I need to come up with what I'm going to talk about for the video. I need to come up with a rough idea of the topics I'm going to cover. I usually do several quick run-throughs, rough sketch run-throughs before I actually record. Then I actually do the recording, and then I spend some time going in the editor, deciding whether or not it's good enough to pass my standards, and then I post it onto YouTube. And sure, I streamlining my workflow is going to be something, again, that I improve over time, but again, my internet's not the greatest, and uploading it into YouTube is actually a process that takes 30 minutes or so. So all of these things take up chunks of time, and that's another reason why adding an element, which I would love to do, such as another camera, add another camera angle, have fun with that. It's not just, it sounds like a simple addition, but when you think about it, you're trying to learn several skills at once there. First, you have to learn how to set up a camera that's working with your video capture software. So just getting that up and working, making sure that works, is one thing. Then, after you get that figured out, you now have to learn how to edit a video with 2 camera angles, and that's a whole nother bowl of fish as well. So you're trying to master 2 separate things there, trying to get it just up and running. It's a lot, and it's doable, but again, it's all about compromises, sacrifices. Video quality would certainly be sacrificed, because that would mean less time that I have to come up with a cool concept of what I want to talk about, actually execute and perform. So yeah, those are the things I'm thinking about going in the future. But back to the idea of sketch comedy, yeah, I had a lot of fun, and it's definitely something I think I'm just going to keep hammering away at. I'm only going to get better at time. I do think I have some pretty good comedic ideas. I have another character in the works ready for you. Maybe you'll get that tomorrow, maybe not. I'm going to hammer out that character and try and come up with a really cohesive story. I've got some funny things lined up, a couple ideas that I can't say without laughing. So good signs. I'm having fun. So tell me what you liked. What'd you think of Chuck Pringles? I think there's some promise there. Tell me it, and please, I want your brutal, honest feedback. If you think Chuck Pringles is cringe, please tell me. I'm not gonna stop making this content because you think it's cringe. That's not, so if your worry is, I don't want to discourage this guy from progressing because I think it's bad, stop. That's not the response I'm going to have. If you think it's bad, that gives me feedback that I can take and use and say, okay, they didn't like this. If you can tell me why in a constructive way, even better. Give me concrete things I can focus on to improve, and I will do my best to address that as we go further. But if your worry is, I'm worried about discouraging you or ruining your motivation by telling him that I think you're kind of bad at this, I'm not going to take it that way. I promise you. I'm doing my own thing. You worry about you, I worry about me, eh? I am telling you, please, constructive criticism, as brutal as it gets, while still being constructive, not just tearing me down, eh? That's no good for anyone. But honest, constructive criticism. You could tell me that you hated every moment of that video, and as long as you do it in a constructive way, Giving you the green light. Giving you the green light. So, please, well, I bring it on. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to roll. Ready to rumble. Okay. Yeah, so that's my wrap up for Chuck Pringles. Be on the lookout for my second attempt at a sketch comedy character. I think I have something good lined up for you. Peace out. Yo.